Hello everyone. Today we're going to be breaking down the One Minute Apologist's tips on communicating with those who have different beliefs. Trust me, it's way worse than it sounds. Grab a drink everyone, and let's begin.
How to build unity with those of different beliefs. Let's face it, we're all probably getting pretty tired of the acrimonious dialogue and rhetoric that's going on in our culture. It's incredibly incendiary speech, vitriolic, hateful, and I just want to see our culture to be able to unify without compromise.
I agree. There's a lot of bitter, stubborn attitudes with which people frequently engage with others. These divides have always existed, but the anonymity and ease of access to the internet allow people to share opinions and points that are more controversial without fear of social repercussions. I just have to call this out though. I'm fine with unifying without compromise if the people I'm unifying with don't advocate for reduced rights of other people. For example, if someone advocates against the rights of the LGBT community, I will have a moral obligation to oppose that position.
How can we unify with people? Well, I think we can unify in spirit without necessarily unifying in mind on everything. That is to say, we can relationally care for somebody. We can accept somebody even if we don't agree on everything.
So far, so good. But it's not going to stay that way for long. Someone can have a radically different mindset than myself, but if they don't try to make me or anyone else follow their exact ideals, they can still be accepted and cared for. I say can here, as I believe some positions shouldn't be allowed to go unopposed, even if they're not pushing them on others. For example, if I were to learn a friend of mine was a raging racist, I would have that same moral obligation I mentioned earlier to oppose that position.
But when we're talking to somebody who has an alternative worldview or viewpoint, I think we should learn to listen. Assume that they have something to teach us.
This is great so far.
All truth is God's truth.
And I spoke too soon.
And we can learn things from people even who have opposing worldviews. So we should learn to listen to them. We should make sure that we don't stereotype somebody's belief system and assume that they are a militant Muslim just because there's some militant Muslims, so to speak. We don't want people to assume that we're fundamentalist Christians that are just out yelling and screaming at people with our billboards just because some people do that.
Once again, the main sentiment here is very good. Labels can be useful, but they hardly tell the full story. Let's say we use Christian as a label. Even more than just simply fanaticism, this doesn't tell you if I'm describing a Catholic, a Baptist, a Mormon, or what beliefs that someone accepts and doesn't accept, even in a specific faith. So it's always important to listen and understand someone's point of view. He is essentially describing interfaith. Interfaith seeks to build bridges between people with wildly different worldviews, to find common goals and values that people from all walks of life agree on. It is a wonderful thing when done properly. The kindness, patience, and openness you can find in interfaith circles is refreshing, to say the very least.
So we want to listen. We want to be able to compliment where possible. Note the things in somebody's life. I mean, they're created in the image of God. Pay a compliment to somebody. Let them know that you genuinely want to hear.
Notice him slipping in more references to God the further along this video gets. That gets under my skin a bit. If you have to use God to get people to talk with others that don't share their beliefs, I don't have a lot of hope that things will go very well in those conversations. I listen to these videos a lot, before, during, and even after I make a response, and I just heard something for the first time right now while editing, which means I'm kicking myself a little bit. But for anyone else that heard the same thing I did, he did not say, pay people a compliment that you know they want to hear. He said, pay them a compliment, and then separately, let them know you genuinely want to hear. Which is honestly a little bit surprising to me, considering what's going to come up here pretty shortly.
Ask them how it is they have arrived at the perspective that they do have. Ask them why it is that they don't believe in Jesus, what it is that turns them off to Christ.
Oh, it's got to be the robes. I mean, they kind of cover up a lot of stuff. I wouldn't really know what I'd be getting into. Not to mention, you wouldn't really be able to have fun until you're married, and for some reason, I don't feel like that's going to really fly either.
Be kind, be humble, be gracious. That kind of conversation can really build unity with somebody.
Why specifically asking about Jesus here? Asking about how someone arrived at their perspective is wonderful, especially if you're being kind, if you're assuming the best, if you're humble and gracious. But honestly, this just feels like targeting if you're specifically pointing out that you should ask them if they believe in Jesus, why they don't believe in Jesus, what turned them from Jesus.
Here, at the end of the day, yes, we want to see people that we're interacting with come to know Jesus.
No.
Oh, come on!
But even if they don't, we don't want to go and put a bad taste in their mouth for Christ.
Too late! Looks like those red flags I pointed out earlier really did speak of something else lurking under the surface. I'm a bit annoyed, actually. He says that he wants to unify with people without compromise. He even listed many wonderful tips to honestly engage with people who have different beliefs. So why did you go on to ruin it, Bobby? You aren't advocating for what you say you are. The moment that you say that at the end of the day you want to turn people to Jesus is the exact moment you shed your ruse of understanding and compassion. And the worst part is, since you did list so many good, honest, caring methods of communication, I am tempted to say that you are aware of this and just don't care. Now, I can't say for certain you're lying about your goal to begin with, as I cannot guess your intent and motivation and everything else, but it's pretty close. I've mentioned before that one of my closest friends is Wiccan. We have unified without compromising our personal beliefs, your exact goal you stated earlier. I don't care that he has a goddess that he believes in and is devoted to, and he doesn't care that I don't. There are also many things we disagree on, and yet we get along grandly. And at the end of the day, I'm not trying to get him to turn to atheism, because I give him that basic respect and he gives it to me. So how dare you say that you want to get along and understand people without compromising beliefs, and then directly state that you want people to come to Jesus? Do you not see the hypocrisy in that? What if you learned that someone you were close to didn't respect your belief in Christianity, and instead was trying to convert you to Islam every time they had the chance? You would probably drop that relationship if you could, because it isn't honest and it isn't respectful. It turns the chance at unity into a con man's game where you try to convert people rather than understand and get along.
It would be great, wouldn't it, if we could have friends with people and get along with people because of the effort that we put in to treat them with dignity as people created in the image of God versus, burning bridges unnecessarily so.
Are you kidding me? Sure, follow his advice if you do want to burn bridges. How he cannot see what he is advocating for here is an absolute mystery to me.
Those are some tips on how we can interact better with those that are non-believers, and hopefully we can unify. And again, not unify meaning the same beliefs, but just look to see eye to eye on things, even though we don't necessarily walk away with the same conclusions.
Really? Then let's hear your own words once again.
Here, at the end of the day, yes, we want to see people that we're interacting with come to know Jesus.
Uh-huh.
We see eye to eye, that we see into their soul that they're a person created in God's image that's worthy of respect and an ear and listening to them.
Then try listening without the end goal being conversion. That's not respectful in any sense. Here's my communication tip. If someone you know talks to you, tries to understand you, but only to make you feel or believe a certain way, cut them out of your life if you can. To them, you're just a means to an end, a number on a roster. They certainly don't view you with respect. What really bothers me here is that coming from most positions, this idea would be unacceptable. But the social expectation and superiority of the religious, and especially Christianity in the United States, can let them get away with toxic behaviors like this, and to most people, it can sound just fine. To anyone listening, be better than him. And if you truly do want to build bridges with those of other beliefs, look up interfaith. I'm sure at very least there could be an online interfaith community you could go to. Interfaith communities are somewhere where even I can feel comfortable showing up, showing my face, and talking with people. Look it up if you're interested. It's well worth the time. That's enough from Bobby Conway, the Con Man. This has been The Unholy Roast, and thank you for listening to my still small voice.